Awesome. And we are live and recording. Welcome to all of you who are joining in for this podcast. Super happy and pleased to welcome Moses Babatope, who's joining us all the way from Lagos, Nigeria. Moses is actually the co-founder and managing director of FilmOne, one of the leading companies in entertainment in the African continent. And Moses, a wonderful pleasure to speak with you today.
It's a great pleasure to be here, Matul. I'm looking forward to us engaging and sharing one or two updates and insights about our market and our industry.
Fantastic. So the Vitrina community is more than a 50,000 member strong. We have professionals from more than 100 countries who typically consume our content, our insights, our reports, and our podcasts. And all of these are usually professionals from the entertainment industry, from different walks of the supply chain, from different aspects of the supply chain. So super excited to welcome you. I wanted to start actually, Moses, from a little background about FilmOne. How did the journey start, and how the business is structured today? And also, would be great to as the co-founder, what were the insights that led you to launch the FilmOne model?
Great question, Atul, and thank you. And good evening or good afternoon, morning to viewers at home or listeners wherever you are. Um, Film One Entertainment, or can I call it the Film One Limited, is part of a media entertainment group called the Filmhouse Group, which houses Filmhouse Cinemas, the cinema exhibition company, and Film One Entertainment, the distribution company, Film One Studios, the production company, as well as a few other verticals like a physical production outlet called Sandbox, and a VOD platform which is in beta test called Filmhouse Plus. So we continue to build out across the value chain in the content space, or would you call the media space, and that's how we're building out and looking forward to our next era of growth. The company was formed in as a cinema company at first. Was formed in 2010. It was incorporated in 2010. Well, our first cinema was opened in December 2012 in Surulere. That's where we opened our first cinema, somewhere in Lagos, on the mainland of Lagos, Nigeria. FilmOne specifically, which I would like to tag as the content arm of the business. So on one side, the distribution, FilmOne Entertainment. On the other side, the production, FilmOne Studios. FilmOne Limited was formed in 2014. We released our first film August of 2014, and that film was Half of Yellow Sun, um, uh, uh, um, off the critically acclaimed novel by the critically respected writer Chimamanda Adichie. And we released that film in August, like I said, 2014. And we've grown in leaps and bounds from there. We started off as a theatrical distribution company where we found out that there was a need for us to find ways to encourage people to leave their homes to watch films in the cinema. When we set up our cinema company, there had already been cinemas here, but there was not a lot of them in the country. We returned back after some years in the UK studying and working, and also working in cinemas to set up cinema company here. But we found out that very quickly we needed to market and distribute the right kind of product for the audience here. That was what birthed Film. And like I said, started the journey as theatrical distributors. And over the years, have evolved from theatrical distributors to all rights distributors, and now to a full fledged production studio that does between 12 and 15 films a year, collaborating with the best filmmakers, the best writers, the best actors and actresses in the country and indeed the continent, and recording some of the best box office results as a process. So that's been our journey essentially. We've had highlights as we've come along. So on the theatrical distribution side, we represent the likes of the Walt Disney Company, as their
Ah,
exclusive licensees for West Africa, English West Africa. So that's Nigeria, Ghana, and Liberia. We do the same thing for Warner Brothers and the same for Sony Pictures releasing, where they're exclusive theatrical distributors in this region. On our non-theatrical side, or what you call home entertainment side, we work with the likes of Netflix and Prime Video, as well as even Showmax, supplying the best of Nigerian and African content to them. And then we also work across supplying content to film festivals for selection or curation. And same, we also supply to airlines, we supply to pay TV platforms. We're working, and exploring fast channels. And we continue to push the boundaries as far as getting Nigerian and African content seen and watched by many more people in and outside the continent.
fascinating. This is it's been a great story, and congratulations for this really amazing journey that the company's had over the last 15 years. Very very impressive, Moses. One, I have a couple of questions actually, just to follow up on that. One is, in terms of the split of what your focus is going to be in the coming days. How do you look at television content? I know you started as film distribution and then went to film production, but are you also dabbling into a little bit of television and TV series? I'll just ask the question again. One sort of curiosity that I had was, along with films and film production and film distribution, are you also looking at television in any fashion, TV series?
Oh, thank you. We are looking at television and TV series. We are. It's not our major focus right now. Feature films are, particularly theatrical first, we call them. The ones made for the big screen is what we prioritize. But we're also developing episodics, or like you said, series. And we have a bunch of them that we're working on. I think one thing to mention is in
Okay,
our studio outfits, FilmOne Studios, we have a full complement of people working in the creative development department, people working in physical production, people working in post production, and also production marketing. So we have that across, our team. People specialized in those, and those particularly in the creative development aspect. We're working on a number of what high premium, what I call premium series that we hope that in the coming years we'll be able to produce and get the market to see.
fascinating, fantastic. No, thanks for that response. The other curiosity I had was, in terms of the overall sort of supply chain and value chain within the Nigerian market. Do you also have specific subsidiaries or partners that do your post production and special effects and sound and so on, or do you sort of collaborate with other companies in, for Kenya, for instance, or South Africa? How's the lay of the land when it comes to a lot of the back end aspects of the value chain?
Thank you, Ato. That's a great question. In terms of post production services, there is an increasing and growing number of service providers that we're working with. We like to stick with those that are very experienced and know the business, know our standards and work to our standards, work to our timelines. And because we work in very specific ways, we're a corporate organization. So it's important that those we work with work professionally, have standards that they keep up to. We ensure that we know the source of funds and that how they are set up, and so whether it's sound editing or whether it's grading or coloring or whether it's editing of the feature. We have partners that we work with. As I said, because um, we're one of the more active feature film investors and producers. We have a number of projects going on simultaneously. So it's very important that we have
Okay.
deep relationships across board in terms of post production, particularly of our content. We typically do a lot of our post production in country, and rarely once in a while, if a particular type of expertise is required, then we'll take it outside the country, maybe to Europe, rarely to the US, and sometimes to East Africa. We have a partner in East Africa, they not formerly used to be called Eventi, now called Transperfect. They do a lot of our QC work
That's right.
in terms of making
Okay.
sure our content is ready for the streaming platforms. We also have visual data, and I believe the names are escaping me now, as partners in Europe. And so we have a number of partners, when it comes to service delivery for our content.
Fantastic. No, that sounds like a really sort of very interesting ecosystem that you have around you. For your company.
Indeed,
Fascinating.
indeed.
Um, one other question that Moses, that whenever we are sort of now talking to industry, 2023 has been a very stressful year for a lot of countries and a lot of markets. The headline really from our own data on global productions and global content acquisitions, Vitrina tracks this on a daily basis, was that the US and APAC were severely impacted in 2023. And then the countries that were, or the continents that were less impacted were Europe and Latin America, or South America, where we actually saw that the impact of the slowdown in 2023 was lesser in Europe and in LATAM. How was the picture as you saw it in Nigeria and the African continent? How was 2023? Were you experiencing any shocks because of either the Hollywood strikes, which I think may not have affected the African continent, but the general slowdown? How was 2023?
So I'll answer the question. Thanks, Atu. I'll answer the question in two buckets. In terms of production
Okay,
activity and in terms of the strength or the performance of the box office. In terms of production activity, Nigeria, as you know, is a you know hotbed of production activity. There's so much productions going on. As you know, it's the number one
that's right.
producer of content in the world. Over 2,000 films
That's right.
made a year. And with
Shucks.
the advent of social media and with YouTube's monetization being clearer to a lot of the creators, we're seeing a lot more activity now, a lot more films getting made, a lot more content getting made. I think 2023 must have been a record year. I stand to be corrected, and it would be
Wow.
good to double check. But 2023 record year in terms of production activity. In terms of the box
Huh.
office, because our cinema market, our cinema industry has being dependent to an extent on Hollywood product. We felt the impact of the strikes when they started off in August. And we were already a thin year, or going into the year. The strikes just exacerbated what we knew was going to be a challenge, just made it a bigger challenge. But what we then saw was a strong end to the year with about five, local titles, which really came to the fore and saved the year for us. So we ended up having a record making box office year, even though our attendance was affected because we had to raise prices, right? But what was
Ah,
encouraging was the December, because the strikes between August and November, and films being moved out and not having adequate replacements for the Hollywood films affected. But the December titles, particularly the Nollywood titles, we had a record December in terms of admissions and in terms of box office, which gave us very good hope, and kind of let us know that there's a lot to be not just thankful for, but to be really bullish about, because we're going through severe economic challenges in the country. We've had all these issues with the strikes, um, and yet we're seeing an uptick in cinema attendance and cinema box office value. If in spite of it all, in one of the busiest periods of the year. So for me, it's generally positive for us in Nigeria, particularly.
Fascinating. Moses, that is such a different response that I've actually received. I've interviewed, folks from both Europe and LATAM, and the what your market experience is definitely very unique. So I have a couple of follow-up questions on that. One is, over the last 3 years, we've actually seen certain languages really spike interest in terms of demand, global demand. So we saw that with Spanish. Spanish was one of the first languages that really took off, right? Money Heist and a host of shows that initially were made hugely popular by Netflix, and then a host of other platforms typically joined the Spanish demand. Spanish was followed by Korean. After that, Turkish. And then now in the last year, we've actually seen other languages like French do really well, especially because we've actually seen demand from both the Americas as well as Europe from French for French content. And then towards the end of last year, we also started seeing uh, very big demand for Japanese anime, Indian content, right? A lot of acquisitions happening for Bollywood and Indian movies as well. Um, how do you? I mean, when you look at sort of supplanting some of the gaps that you're seeing from Hollywood, is your market also acquiring Spanish, French, or any other languages,
Again, so in
and then
two
localizing those?
buckets, I think we have this. In two buckets, we have the cinema scene where our audience are very specific, quite demanding now about what they want. It has to be quality, it has to be spectacle, it has to have a sense of event, to be eventicized, to feel grand, to feel like it's something that is worth their money. And in terms of the cinema side of things, English language and well made indigenous language products still hold sway. We're such a
Okay,
specific market that people don't want to go to the cinema to start reading subtitles. Neither do they want a poor dub of films to see in the cinema. As far as streaming is concerned, the Korean films and series are dominating whenever they've been released. We're very big on the K
wow.
drama. It's doing very well here. The way you've listed them, I won't say Spanish comes ahead, but I will say the mixture of all of those Spanish, French,
Mhm.
Chinese, when there's been the right kind of Chinese product, not so much Turkish, but those key
Okay,
languages that you've also mentioned that have been popular around the world have also found their way on our top 10 charts on the streaming platforms.
fascinating. Fascinating. This is great to know. Again, we sort of picking up the demand cycle for some of these international content as well. One one related question is that, what kind of stories are coming out of Nigeria that really are very export friendly? Because there has been a little buzz the last few days about Nigerian content that we are picking up. So in within our the Vitrina marketplace, we are picking up new searches that our users are doing for African content, African IP, and Nigerian content. What would be your so I had two questions. One is, what kind of content is really desirable from an international perspective coming out of Nigeria? And the second is, what what is the most specialist storytelling from Nigerian storytellers? Is it drama? Is it action? Are these thrillers, mystery? What genres are really very popular from Nigeria?
Great. I think that's a great question, and I'm happy that we're delving into it. So, what is really popping? What is getting exciting? What is looking like it's exportable? I think our epics are beginning to show real
Ah,
potential. People have not seen African skin, African culture, African language, or let me say Nigerian languages or language and the way of doing things in our rural communities look so good, look so authentic. I think that
Wow.
our epics are a new frontier for our industry and for the world to see. So we've seen the Europeans show us the Roman Empire and the various empires in Europe and from the North America we've also seen their take on epics. I think we're now in the era where with technology and with better filmmaking ability, our epics are looking really, really good. Like I said, the richness of the culture. We have one strong epic coming off the back of successful Netflix launch in 2022 of the movie. A series has been made of it called Anikulapo, Rise of the Scepter by one of the great filmmakers. It's out March 1. And there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of
Wow.
excitement once the trailer came out, and there's a lot of buzz and talk about it. I think that we also have the Disney animation called Iwaju that comes out on the 28th of February. There's been also a lot of talk, a lot of buzz about that. And I think that is likely to open a lot of doors or a lot of putting a lot of spotlight on our animation industry that has always been talked about so much, but has not been able to attract the level of investment to help it,
Okay.
showcase its huge potential or the talent base that we have. So I think that with the launches of this shows, we're set to see not just interest in our content, but even growth, because I believe that these are very well made programs. And then there was also the documentary about Yanis, the basketballer. I think it was done. It was
That's
produced
right.
by WhatsApp and was on YouTube. And so there's a lot of talk and a lot of like I said, a lot of capturing and putting together imagery from Africa that we've not seen in a while. There's a lot of it going on. So for me, it's such a positive step and it's exciting, and I hope we can build on from there. And in terms of what specialist um, filmmaking craft, or would I say what our Nigerian filmmakers or the kind of stories they're great at telling, I think drama,
Right.
like you said, just the kind of people that we are, and I think that we have that in similarity to Bollywood. We're dramatic people naturally,
Right.
and so
Right.
drama probably is one of our strengths, if not the strength. Comedies are also very good, but comedies can be very local and very nuanced, so it might not have the potential to travel as much as we want it to travel. And then I think we do very well with the underworld, the crime world. We've done a number of very very strong depictions of crime stories, crime thrillers. We had a hit show which we sold to Netflix January last year, called Shantytown, which was very well
Ah,
depicted crime trailer, and there are a number of stories being made in that world, and that world is a good representation. Well, people would disagree with me whether it's a good representation, but it's a representation of the Nigerian society, because crime thrives a lot where there's poverty. So there's really, there's a lot of hierarchy. There's a lot of systems in that world. There are a lot of gangs, and there's
hmm.
just a lot of rackets and things that go on there. And in a
Right.
developing market like Nigeria, um, I think a lot of people have not seen how that world is, and our filmmakers are doing a good job of showcasing that world to the outside audience. So I think that's for me a summary of the kind of content
Fascinating.
that's working and our specialty in doing them.
Fantastic. That is super cool. Again, as I mentioned, right, there is now we are picking up a buzz. It's a it's small, but it is growing within our marketplace as well for Nigerian content and African content. So your comments are very well taken from that perspective, and I'm sure they will resonate with a host of folks who are typically at this point very interested in exploring Nigerian content and African content, right? One, I was actually speaking with Globo in Brazil, one of the largest corporations in South America, last week, and they were actually sort of talking about the need for co-production partners. They are actually wanting cross-border co-productions to be sort of, and collaboration to happen with between them and other countries and other markets, just storytellers from two different countries or two different continents to come together. Would you be open to any such sort of, are you looking for such partnerships in co-production? If yes, if you're open, what kind of projects would those be?
We're absolutely open to projects like that. And in fact, we've been engaged and we've worked on projects like that. We've worked with the BFI
Okay.
on a film project called The Last Tree. We've worked on another project with a Dutch production company. I think it's Songs for Charity, something like that. It's an all independent
Okay.
project. As you know, we do not have official treaties with these countries, but for us,
Right.
we want to position ourselves as a group of independent filmmakers, storytellers that are open for business, to collaborate with filmmakers from other parts of the world and project the relationships and project the geography, project the tourism, project the people and the interactions, project them in the best and authentic way possible to the rest of the world watching. So what kind of stories? Everybody, I know it can get repetitive and can get almost very what's the word to use now? It can get almost typical to do the humanitarian or
Right.
human trafficking stories, but those things, when well executed, are real issues, and so those stories are there to tell. Of course, journey of self-discovery for those that are looking to come back to
Hmm.
Africa to find the roots of their existence, or to find their, what kind of families or cultures they belong to. Of course, there are romance stories where people come into the continent and fall in love, and vice versa. There are stories around fraud and scams, that are waiting to be explored and told. And a range of other
Hmm.
stories that are exciting. Even the crime world and the drug cartels that use Nigeria as a career point. And I think those are also
Right.
fascinating, and some practices that you only find in this country, that people have come to have an exploration or have come to find out more information on. Those kind of stories, I think, are stories that have not been told yet, but are exciting definitely for a global audience to discover.
Fantastic. And we will certainly take your voice out to all of our members, specifically on companies that are interested in the co-production piece. So thanks for that input. So as we wind up our conversation, I have to ask you uh, the projects that you're most interested in or the most excited about in 2024. You talked about two releases that you're doing, in the next few days. But are there other projects that you are super excited about? How does 2024 look like?
2024 looking exciting. We have a number of the way it works in Nollywood. I wish we could be we I wish there was patient capital for us, to have films ready months in advance and can announce. Unfortunately, our capital is tight and we have to recycle it every now and then. So the number of films we're looking forward to for Christmas, they've not been shot yet, but they are planned. So it's a
Okay.
very
Okay.
6-7 month window where we agree it. Of course, it's been developed, we shoot, we do post production, and we market heavily. So we have films with our star actress and producer, Funke Akindele. We have the same with our star actress and producer, Tony Abraham. We have with Odunlade Adekola. We have and we just done one that is number one in the box office for a Nollywood film with a star actor, DME Okonlawon, called All's Fairly in Love. We have something coming in April called Ajoshepo. We have with our long-term collaborators, Inkblot, Finding Onome, I believe it is, and Mori and Co. We have about 3 or 4 films that we're doing with them this year. We're looking forward to titles from a production company called Play Network, from their Play Studios arm. So there are a bunch
Hmm.
of films that we're looking forward to this year. We expect our heavy hitters, and we have a number of, it's a star-led industry. So a number of our actors are also producers in their own right with their fan base. We're expecting
Ah,
them to have launches
that's
this
it.
year as well on both streaming and cinemas. But we expect a very interesting year for cinemas, just off the success of the highest grossing film of all time, which was a Nollywood film and that was released about 12 weeks ago, called A Tribe Called Judah. It was released
Wow.
December. It was released December 15, and gone on to do over $1 million in our market that has less than 80 locations. So we're excited
Wow.
about the amount of projects and the types of projects that are coming through, and the responses of the audience indicates to us that once we do the films right and we market it right, they are happy to leave their homes to watch as well as subscribe to a platform and also enjoy.
Fantastic, fantastic. Look, I mean, as I mentioned, right, there is an increasing curiosity about the market within our members as well, and we hope to actually sort of get you, some of those partnerships and connections as some of our members reach out to to stitch up those partnerships and that those collaborations. But again,
We will,
Moses, this has been a wonderful. Sorry, go ahead.
we will appreciate those connections. Thank you, Atul.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, wanted to thank you for speaking to our members today and speaking to Vitrina. This has been a great conversation, very eye-opening and educational, especially with all the buzz that's happening within the Nigerian market. And we hope to have you soon, on the podcast again for more updates, Moses.
Thank you very much, Atul. It's been great. Thank you for the platform. Thank you for what your company does in connecting various practitioners and platforms around the world together. We look forward to growing our business and getting our content known around the world, as well as introducing our audiences and consumers to new content as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fantastic. With that, thank you again.